Martin never expected to receive the devastating news about his wife's illness, the woman who had been his strength and support for the past 10 years. Now, it was his turn to repay everything she had done for him. A bit nervous, he stepped onto the stage and, as he began to sing the first song, all eyes turned to him. What happened next was something no one could have predicted. Hello, my friends. I am Linda, and this is Linda's Love Stories. I hope you enjoy this story. Martin and Ava were sitting in the doctor's office, their hands intertwined as they anxiously awaited the diagnosis. The doctor entered the room with a serious expression, carrying a folder with the test results. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the results here. Unfortunately, Eva will need to undergo a delicate surgery, announced the doctor with a compassionate voice. The couple exchanged worried looks. Ava squeezed Martin's hand tighter, seeking comfort. Doctor, does our insurance cover this type of procedure? Martin asked hesitantly. The doctor shook his head. I'm sorry, but this specific type of surgery is generally not covered by the basic plan. You will need to bear the costs. The doctor's words fell like a weight on the couple's shoulders. Martin felt a knot forming in his throat, while Eva let out a trembling sigh. As they left the office, they walked silently through the streets of the small town. The late afternoon sun cast golden shadows over the simple houses and the trees that lined the dirt road. It was a peaceful and welcoming scene, so different from the storm now stirring in their hearts. 10 years ago, Martin and Eva had chosen this bucolic life. They lived on a small farm on the outskirts of the city, a green and serene refuge where they found the peace they so longed for. There, away from the hustle and bustle of urban life, they built their own paradise. Every morning the couple woke up to the crowing of roosters. Eva prepared a strong and aromatic coffee while Martin went to feed the animals. The smell of wet earth and fresh grass filled the air as he scattered corn for the chickens and took hay to the dairy cows they owned. After breakfast, both dedicated themselves to the small artisanal factory they maintained at the back of the property. With fresh ingredients harvested right there, they produced creamy cheeses and tasty jams that were highly appreciated at the local market. The sweet aroma of cooking fruits mixed with the strong smell of cheese maturing, creating a unique olfactory symphony. On sunny afternoons, Eva took care of the garden, her skilled hands pulling out weeds and harvesting ripe vegetables. Martin watched her with a smile, admiring his wife's dedication. Sometimes he would pick up the guitar and play a few notes, making Eva laugh and dance among the garden beds. On Saturdays, they would take their products to sell at the town fair. It was a moment of joy, meeting neighbours and chatting with loyal customers who always praised the unparalleled taste of their cheeses and jams. The nights were peaceful, filled with candle-lit conversations on the porch, shared laughter, and the gentle sound of the music Martin loved so much. They would fall asleep embraced, grateful for the simple yet fulfilling life they had built together. It was on one of these serene nights that the first signs of Eva's illness appeared. She started experiencing severe abdominal pain, night sweats, and fatigue that seemed to drain all her energy. Martin noticed with concern that his wife could no longer work in the garden for long without needing to sit down to rest. It must be just a passing flu, Eva tried to reassure him, but the worried glint in her eyes betrayed her words. As the days passed and the symptoms persisted, the couple finally decided to seek medical help. And now, returning home after a series of exams and a consultation, the weight of the diagnosis and the need for an expensive surgery hung over them. Sitting at the kitchen table that night, Martin and Eva discussed the alternatives. The silence was broken only by the ticking of the old wall clock and the occasional distant moo of cows in the pasture. I could contact Juan, Martin said hesitantly, stirring his cup of tea absent-mindedly. He has that bar in the capital. Maybe I could sing there a few nights, make some extra money. Eva looked up, the worry evident on her face. Martin, are you sure? It's been so long. And you know how that environment can be dangerous for you. Martin nodded, understanding his wife's concern. "I know, my love, but it's for you. I promise I'll take care of myself." In the days that followed, neighbours and family members mobilised to help. They organised raffles, small charity events, and even an online crowdfunding campaign. The community's solidarity was touching, but even so, the amount raised was far from enough to cover the surgery costs. It was then that Martin decided to move forward with his plan. On a rainy afternoon, he took the old pickup truck and drove to the capital. His heart was racing as the city lights appeared on the horizon. It had been so long since he had set foot there. Juan's bar was on a busy downtown street. It was an elegant establishment, frequented by trendy young people and executives looking for fun after a long day at work. Martin parked on a nearby street, took a deep breath, and walked in. The room was full, the hum of conversations blending with the background music. Juan was behind the counter, organising some bottles. When he saw Martin, his eyes widened in surprise. "Martin? My God, it's been so long!" he exclaimed, coming out from behind the counter to hug his friend. The two talked for a few minutes, with Martin quickly explaining his situation. Juan listened attentively, his expression shifting between compassion and concern. "Are you sure, Martin? Are you ready to face the audience again?" Juan asked, casting a meaningful glance at a bottle of whiskey on the shelf. Martin followed his friend's gaze, feeling a slight tremor in his hands. "I don't know if I'm ready, but I need to. For Eva, I need to." Juan nodded, understanding. "All right, my friend. The stage is yours tonight." The hours dragged on until the moment of the performance. Martin stayed backstage, warming up his voice and battling the anxiety that threatened to consume him. The familiar smell of alcohol and perfume that permeated the environment brought back memories he preferred to keep buried. Finally, the time came. Juan stepped onto the stage to introduce him. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special surprise for you tonight. I present to you Martin." A murmur of curiosity swept through the audience. Martin stepped onto the stage, the bright lights momentarily blinding him. He adjusted the microphone, cleared his throat, and signalled the band to start. The first note sounded, and for a moment Martin hesitated. His gaze wandered over the distracted audience, then to the whiskey glass strategically placed on a table beside the stage. For a moment, he felt the old desire burning in his chest. But then, like a beacon in the darkness, the image of Eva appeared in his mind. Eva smiling among the beds of her garden. Eva asleep in his arms on cold winter nights. Eva, with her unconditional love, reaching out to him in the darkest moments. With this image firmly in his heart, Martin began to sing. His deep and melodious voice filled the room. Conversations ceased, and all eyes turned to the stage. One by one, the customers began to recognize that unmistakable voice. Excited whispers spread through the audience. "It's Martin, the famous singer Martin." As the music progressed, Martin felt the old magic returning. His voice gained strength and confidence, enveloping everyone with his emotion. When the last note sounded, the silence that followed lasted only a second before being shattered by an explosion of applause. The audience was ecstatic. Many people stood up, giving a standing ovation to the singer everyone had thought lost for so long. The performance continued to be thrilling. Martin thanked them with a shy nod and stepped off the stage, his heart pounding in his chest. Juan was waiting for him backstage, a wide smile on his face. "You were amazing, my friend. It was just like the old times." The vibrant atmosphere of the bar was a painful reminder of a time when fame and recognition were constants in his life. As he walked outside, his gaze got lost in the city lights, and he was immediately transported to a past that seemed as much a dream as a nightmare. Martin had been a great singer, admired throughout the country. The nights were filled with applause, and life offered him everything: money, women, parties. But there was a price to pay, and he didn't realise it until it was too late. Drinks were always offered, and soon they became his only company. When the music silenced and the lights went out, he found himself alone, sunk in glasses and loneliness. The first times were harmless, a toast here, a shot there. But over time, the drinking began to take over his shows, and the quality of his voice, once pure and powerful, deteriorated. Contracts were cancelled, sponsors disappeared, and friends who were once by his side distanced themselves, ashamed of his fall. In one of his most painful relapses, he remembered a night when, lost at a party, he found himself surrounded by unfamiliar faces. He had spent all his money on drinks and parties, trying to fill the void that his crumbling career had left. That's when he re-encountered Eva, a childhood friend. She found him in a lamentable state, and without hesitation, she reached out. "Martin, you need help." She took him to her home, where he could begin to recover. In the days that followed, there were difficult moments. On one occasion, he had a relapse and left her worried, but she never gave up on him. Instead of walking away, Eva stayed by his side, offering support and love. Over time, their friendship transformed into something deeper. They spent hours talking about the past, laughing and crying together. It was there, in the quiet nights at Ava's house, that Martin realized he loved her. Then Ava made a bold choice. She sold her house and quit her job to buy a small farm. The goal was to create a new home, far from the temptations that nearly destroyed Martin. Together, they built a refuge where they could start over, far from the shadows of the past. And so they lived for the last 10 years, happy on that small farm, cultivating their dreams and the love that blossomed between them, despite the scars of the past. Martin smiled as he remembered Eva, feeling a mixture of relief and fulfillment. His thoughts were already far from there, eager to return home, to Eva. The return journey seemed endless. When he finally arrived at the farm, it was already past midnight. The porch lights were on, and Ava was waiting for him, sitting in the old rocking chair. Upon seeing him, she stood up, her eyes shining with worry and love. Martin ran to her, enveloping her in a tight embrace. "How was it?" she asked softly. Martin took a deep breath, his face buried in Eva's soft hair. It was intense. For a moment, Eva, I almost faltered. The environment, the memories, everything seemed to pull me back to that life. Eva stepped back a bit, looking him in the eyes. "But you didn't falter, did you?" Martin smiled, caressing his wife's face. "No. Because at the moment when I needed strength the most, I remembered you. Of everything we've been through together, of all the love and dedication you've given me, I remembered the last 10 years, Eva, the happiest and most genuine years of my life." Tears filled Eva's eyes. They hugged once more, the stars shining in the dark sky above them, silent witnesses to that moment of love and overcoming adversity. The next morning, Martin was awakened by the insistent sound of the phone. Still drowsy, he answered, surprised to hear Juan's cheerful voice on the other end of the line. "Martin, you won't believe it. Your performance last night. It's in all the newspapers. Social media is abuzz. The return of the great Martin to the stage." Dazed, Martin grabbed his cell phone. Indeed, every personal profile was talking about his surprise performance. Videos recorded by bar patrons were circulating on the internet, reaching thousands of views in just a few hours. It didn't take long for a news crew to arrive at the farm. Martin and Eva received them on the porch, still trying to process all the sudden attention. The reporter, a young woman with lively eyes, asked the question on everyone's mind. "Martin, what led you to return to the stage after so many years?" Martin held Ava's hand, exchanging a loving glance with his wife before responding. "Actually, it was out of necessity. My wife Eva needs to undergo surgery and we couldn't afford the costs. I just wanted to make some extra money to help her." The story touched everyone. Within hours, former colleagues from the music industry, fans, and even strangers mobilized. An online fundraising campaign was created and, to the couple's surprise and joy, in less than a day the amount needed for Eva's surgery was reached. Moved by people's generosity, Martin granted another interview. The reporter, curious, asked, "Martin, after this triumphant return, do you think about returning to the stage permanently?" Do you miss the success and fame? Martin smiled, looking at Ava, who was by his side. Success? I have never been as successful as I am now. I have everything I need. A woman who loves me and whom I love, and I have peace. That, to me, is worth more than any applause or recognition. Eva shook her husband's hand, her eyes shining with love and pride. Martin continued, I am grateful for the opportunity to help my wife and eternally thankful for everyone's generosity. But my place is here, on this farm, with Eva. This is my true success. Martin's words deeply touched everyone watching. Many commented on how refreshing it was to see someone who valued the simple things in life, in a world so focused on fame and money. In the days that followed, Martin and Eva received numerous messages of support and affection. Eva's surgery was scheduled, and thanks to people's generosity, they wouldn't have to worry about the costs. One afternoon, while Ava was resting on the porch and Martin was tending to the garden, he paused for a moment, contemplating the life they had built together. The sun was setting on the horizon, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink. The sweet aroma of flowers mingled with the smell of damp earth. Martin smiled, feeling a deep gratitude. There, on that piece of land with the woman he loved, he had found something much more valuable than any fame or wealth could offer. He had found his home, his purpose, his peace. He walked to the porch, sitting down next to Ava. She rested her head on his shoulder, and together they watched the sunset, grateful for the love they shared and the simple but fulfilling life they had chosen. The future might bring challenges, but Martin knew that as long as he had Eva by his side and that little paradise they called home, he would truly be the richest and most successful man in the world. If you enjoyed, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment with a number from 1 to 5 to let us know how much you liked the story. Also, watch the video that is currently on your screen. See you soon.